I start with basically the inflammation refers to our body is actually the process of fighting against any pathogens invades into our body, or if there are the injuries, or if any toxins enter into our body. So actually, when something damages to your cells, also the body releases some of the chemicals that actually triggers. So what triggers from our immune system? So what the overall we call it as the inflammation. The process starts. The whole process actually sometimes it will be for a few minutes. Sometimes it will be hold for few hours. Sometimes it will hold for a few days also. So that's what, based on this, the inflammation that is present in our body, that we categorize into different category. So initially they start acute and chronic inflammation. Then actually the chronic inflammation happens when in our living our body the constant state of alert. So and over a time the chronic inflammation may have a negative impact on some of our tissues and organs. So in the mainly an autoimmune disease, the tissues, organs, mainly the brain and the spinal cord affects. And some research suggests that actually the chronic inflammation could also play an important condition leading to a deadly disorder, especially neuronal disorders, the other disorders also, but mainly the neuronal autoimmune disorders, especially Parkinson's, Huntington's, multiple sclerosis, especially that the multiple sclerosis I am concentrating on. So as we know, the inflammation has its own effect, actually the positive effect and also the negative effects also. So there are inflammation that actually we need to for immune to brain communication, and also the immune surveillance also to recognize the host priority. That's what's very, very important. And also sometimes we need that inflammation for to develop memory and learning also. So again, it also it important for injury inducing remodeling. We need remodeling of some of the injured immune cells, injured brain cells, and also the immune preconditioning of this inflammation. So all these we need for a positive effect of inflammation, as we know, but for actually the few this inflammation is not say it's not in a days. So when it's negative aspect inflammation, actually the traumatic CNS injury, we know that it is very sometimes these brain cells will permanently injured. So again, repeated social diffuse stress. Actually, when I'm under stress, so actually there is a lot of inflammation. Actually, the brain cells also, under stress, it will become inflamed. Again, in different aging and different other disorders also, you can see the inflammation. Then neurodegenerative disorder, especially the chronic inflammation, where the neuronal cells, different brain cells, they are also injured. So we are talking about that mainly on this what you call neurodegenerative disorder, especially autoimmune disease and other neurodegenerative disorder. So mainly I focused on mainly I actually initially I start with working on snake venom phospholipase A2, where the phospholipase A2 start the inflammatory triggers, and also you will get a toxicity in a snake bitten patient. The same thing happens in the what you call in autoimmune disorder, where the secretory PLA2 and cytosolic PLA2 also play an important role in triggering autoimmune disorder. So there are scientists, they already cited, they worked on extensively on various ways in the secretory PLA2 play an important role, and also they designed various inhibitors for to curb those inhibition, curb the inflammation, so that the severity of that neuroinflammation also reduce. And also the other, there are scientists, they worked extensively on the cytosolic phospholipase A2 in inflammation, but it is not directly, but the various signals ways where the cytosolic PLA2 will be activated. But it is more relevant in autoimmune disorder. The cytosolic PLA2 is playing important. I will show you how exactly this cytosolic PLA2 is very, very important for a disease progression and the occurrence. So how these in some way where the phospholipase A2 actually acts on the phospholipid and releasing lysophospholipid and the fatty acid and other lipid mediators in the metabolism. So actually those will actually be accumulated in the system, and gradually these lipid mediators of the lipid metabolism that's mediated by phospholipase A2 actually increase with the blood-brain barrier permeability increases. So once it is increases, definitely once the permeability increases, definitely the various invading different immune cells started. And once it is immune cells enter into a body, definitely it is auto-activated and it will be acts on very different brain cells and it will be affected various parts. So that's what we need in certain activity where we take an example for cytosolic the what you call secretory PLA2. We need for a certain level when it is excess amount of this secretory PLA2, definitely deleterious effect, inflammatory disorders also you can observe. In the same way, we concentrated on cytosolic phospholipid in inflammation. So I told you the inflammation actually once it is occurs, it actually various others will be activated, stress signals and epoxy condition, other different pathways also activated. So because of this, the what you call the inflammation, the immune cells also infiltrate. I told you once it is inflammation, the what you call this the phospholipid to activated and various different intermediates also started, and these will actually increases the permeability of blood-brain barrier so that immune cells will be infiltrated. So where various neutrophils, monocyte, dendritic cells, macrophages, various T cells, NK T cells, B cells, all these happen, but we are concentrating on these macrophage because in our lab we're working on this macrophage and their different subtypes for their disease severity and how we can understand the mechanism by using various inhibitors. So actually once it is macrophage, actually once it is activated, the potent cytokine response also occurs and altered immune response also occurs. Once it is altered immune response, definitely the other different brain cells, actually the microglial cells are actually activated, and also it will be once it is activated, it releases various different pro-inflammatory cytokines, and also that actually affects the neuro. Actually, it increases the severity of the neuroinflammation. The same way, even the macrophage, once it is activated, it increases pro-inflammatory cytokines, especially IL-6, IL-1 beta, TNF alpha, even NO also nitric oxide. So previously, there are scientists, they shown that they already proved these NK cells, actually NK cells and actually Th1 cells, the activated new Th1 cell actually enters into the brain, and it actually it affects mainly of the what you call the axon part of the neurons will be affected, already well studied. And I also studied in the postdoctoral where the activated T cells actually produces various different protein and also various interleukins. So actually it actually play an important role in tau phosphorylation. Actually these interleukin IL-17 play an important role. Actually it is mediated axon destabilization, I can say. Axon destabilization takes place through IL-17 from the NKT cells, activated NKT cells. So that is very important. I shown in the in a different paper. So that is the one where the activated macrophages and activated microglia are play an important role in through the inflammation. So how the same thing, the microglia inflammation, when there is infected agent and it will be in a resting stage. Once it is exposed to this infectious agent and neurotoxin, definitely it will be activated. Once it is activated, various inflammatory other will be released, that pro-inflammatory cytokines releases, the NORS and IL-1, IL-6, TNF alpha, all these increase, that definitely it will affect the neuronal function. So once the neuronal function altered, definitely you can see the various different effects. Um, I told you there are the instances where the cytosolic phospholipase play an important role. Also, the scientists shown that it is deficient of the mice is resistant to experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis. So, in animal model, we use the experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis. It is a model for the multiple sclerosis. Actually, the experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis Th1 mediated inflammatory disease, central nervous system model, to explain the actually it shows complete picture of the human multiple sclerosis model. So that's what the cytosolic phosphate is very important. Actually, when it initiates the production of what you call prostaglandin, leukotrienes, other thromboxans, all these actually POF, it present in the A legend using myelin. So in the in this model, actually the cytosolic phospholipase A2 deficient mouse, actually it shows nothing mean any clinical score. Whereas in the wild type, having cytosolic phospholipid A2 is showing a disease severity as shown in the figure. So that's what it actually initiates all these different inflammatory cascade. So using myelin oligonucleotide glycoprotein MOG immunization as well as adaptive transfer model, we showed mice are resistant to EAE. Means if the cytosolic phospholipid A2 present in the mouse, we use it shows actually the complete the episodes of experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis, that is multiple sclerosis model. So actually this is actually C57BL6 mouse. What we see in actually it is a deficient in secretory PLA2 enzyme, whereas actually it expresses normal cytosolic phospholipid A2 in that mouse. That's what we use the C57BL6 mouse for our experimentation. So again, the histological examination also shown that the CNS with the MOG immunized mice, the wild type mice showing the invasion of different immune cells, monocytes, all these activated Ts, everything we can see in the lesions of the spinal cord section. That's what. And if it is a what you call the deficient of these cytosolic phospholipid A2, we can see the very minor, very minimum number of these cells, and you will not see the any disease. So with this, actually, we need a cytosolic phospholipid A2 for our what you call disease model. In the same way, the cytosolic phospholipid A2 is play an important role in getting the disease. So that's what the cytosolic phospholipid is important for even the inflammatory cascade leading to disorder. So again, there are different model adaptive transfer where we can culture the T cells and prime them with the MOG, and we can inject directly the adaptive transfer. Another method we use, we can directly inject the MOG with a fringe adjuvant. Then again, we use the pertussis toxin in a subsequent days we can inject, and following you will get a preclinical scoring. Again, I shown in the previous slide how you can clinically score actually the grade 1 flaccid tail, the grade 2 mild hind weakness, grade 3 severe hind limb weakness, and grade 4 hind limb paralysis, grade 5 actually hind limb paralysis with a forelimb weakness. So in these all these clinical scores, the whole mouse will not be able to move because the hind limb paralysis and the forelimb paralysis and also the flaccid tail. So difficult to move completely. It will be it will be sit and wherever it sits. So the mice were treated with a purified molecule. That's what we are trying to do. Once I will get this the model, only I get only once. After that, I didn't get a proper C57BL6. I will not get any good result. But I did after coming from the postdoc only with this method. But after that, I didn't get a proper mouse, so I didn't continue with this method. But from our laboratory, basically, I started for the last few years, 1 or 2 years, I got the grant. So we started a screening of some of the phytochemicals and their effect on neuroinflammation using the cell line model, especially the macrophage and the mitoglial cells. So we use pro-inflammatory cytokines for their measurement and see the the severity of the disorder. So we started with some of the compound from our PhD student. They started isoliquid resin and Gernal from the Leucorrhiza plant, the isolated, and also try to see the same cytosolic phospholipid A2 and secretory PLA2 activity in LPS stimulated macrophages, just to see whether it will be anti-inflammatory, like it will stop the inflammation and all. Both the molecule actually, some of the other compounds also from the Leucorrhiza showing very promising effect on the inhibition on cytosolic phospholipid A2 and secretory phospholipid A2 very significantly. Okay, and also we've seen that there are these molecules again these two having very positive effect on that is inhibited the suppression of IL-1 beta, IL-6, TNF alpha, and nitric oxide, and also inosine LPS stimulated macrophage. So these two have suppresses the expression of the TNF alpha, and also it is expression of IL-1 beta, expression LPS stimulated around macrophages. And also these two molecules again, it will show very promising effect by suppressing IL-6 and also the NON LPS stimulated raw macrophages. So again, because of the failure in getting showing the model of the AA model, again we need to show that there are some the brain cells that is interacting with the macrophage, and the other cells is the what you call BV2 microglia cells. So actually, these two molecules are showing again the TNF alpha and nitric oxide production in BB2 microglial cells, very significantly showing very promising result. And there are very preliminary data we got. I'm doing that extensively again. Furthermore, actually, these exerts through the suppression of P38 and JNK and INOs. Actually, it suppresses the phosphorylation of these what you call P38 and also JNK and also P38 and JNK phosphorylation is suppressed, and also it will suppress the expression of INOs, and also we shown that NO suppression in the previous slide. So we are doing it's unpublished data. We are doing that RT-PCR and all we are doing, and the other data with the same phytochemicals we isolated and characterized some of the molecules from the plant, and it is unpublished data again. It is showing that very promising result from the Borea diffusa plant. There are 4 different compounds. Only the 2 like we are yet to naming with the different NMR data, new compounds, and we are showing very promising data about TNF alpha suppression of some of the molecules, especially with a C and D molecule, showing very promising data with IL-6 and TNF alpha in a macrophage. And also from the FACS analysis, it is showing that we named one molecule. There are 4 molecules to naming security name that is actually showing very promising data with IL-6 with the FACS analysis. And INOs also, it will be significantly reduce the production of INOs in a FACS analysis. And from the other data with we know that it is actually we got some of the very good positive result from the MAP kinase, P38 MAP kinase. It is very good inhibitor for P38 MAP kinase. We are planning for a patenting that P38 MAP kinase. It is inhibiting. Actually, we did some of that modeling system where DFG site in the MAP kinase actually it inhibited with a hydrogen bond. That's what's very, very important from the docking. Various different software we use. DFG site of the MAP kinase it is inhibited, and we got a hydrogen bond. Very good data, and we had to publish with the what we call Western blot and RT-PCR. If it is getting very promising data, definitely we are going to patent this one. And apart from that, there are the other data I have actually in the same inflammatory pathway where NRF2 is also playing an important role in a autoimmune disease, especially with the MS model, where NRF2 can modulate these inflammatory cascade. And also we have some of the molecules that is very fairly interacting NRF2, and also it will modulate the disease progression in a cell model.